Okay, so for my presentation, I'm going to be showing how to do simple interaction with objects, coding it, and then going more in depth and using SteamVR's implemented stuff. So I'm going to start off by just going through what we already learned and how to import SteamVR into a new Unity project. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new Unity project. Call it interaction. But don't mess up the end there. Interaction. Alright, so there we go. Now we can go ahead and take this new one. We can go over here and go to the asset store. Go ahead and search for SteamVR. Oops, if you know how to type, it goes a little faster, but I still don't know how to type. SteamVR. There. Import. If you didn't have it already, it'll download it first and then you can import it. Alright, import. We're pretty much going to leave all the settings the same for SteamVR. We're not going to change anything, and we're going to import the example controls that it prompts you to import. Because I'll have the basic stuff like grabbing, and all the interaction buttons are going to be all correct then. Alright, now once that's done, this is going to pop up. Obviously, I'm just going to hit accept all, because we're going to keep all the settings the way they are. There's that, made the right choice, okay. Alright, and that's good. Now we can close out of this. What am I doing? Close tab, that's what I want to do. Alright, accept all. This is going to pop up the entire time we're doing this, so I'm very excited about that. So then, for putting the player character in, so you want to have the hands and you don't want to have the controllers, because if you just do the camera rig, then it'll just have, so if you just do, we can search for the camera rig, this one right here, this camera rig, this will just show you the controllers, it will not show the hands, because it's just the basic camera rig for it. But if you do the player prefab that's already created for you using SteamVR, that has everything. That has the hands, it has all the camera rig and everything attached to it. And then, so for that, you can also do, see the left and right hands here, you can also look and see here. There's different hands here that you can drag in. Obviously mine's a little big here, but you can use these hand models in place of the ones that are already in here, which are these arrowhand ones. There's basic ones, there's alien hands, there's stuff like that. They'll have the left and right models. All you do is you just drag them right into the model right here for the correct hand. Obviously you don't want to put the left hand on the right hand or anything, but I'm going to leave them the same for this video. So beyond that, what you're going to need to do is you're going to want something to stand on in game, so you're going to put a plane in, boom, that's it. I'm going to put something to put our interactable objects on. I'll probably just put we'll put a cube. I don't know what I'm thinking too much about for. So a cube, we'll move it back a little bit, and then we'll make it, actually, yeah, that works. And then we're just going to make it pretty wide, so we're going to give it like a, oops, that's the position, not the, make it wide. Alright, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the actual object that we're going to do the interactions with. So I'm going to put in a sphere, we're going to move it back, bring it up, just so, put it on top of here, and then I'm going to scale it down to like 0.3 on all the scaling, just so it's a sizable like ball. in VR, because if you do it like how the normal scaling in the 1, it's going to be a pretty big ball in VR. So beyond that, that's all that is. Now, in Steam VR, they actually have components already there for you for most stuff. I don't want that yet. So one thing you actually need is a rigid body, because that's what you need for most physics-based objects in games, and this wants something to be physics-based. So that's going to allow it to roll, drop, and be interactive with gravity, and allow forces to interact with it. But besides that, I'll move it over a little bit. Besides that, there's also the Interactable. This is the class we need in order for the hands to be a trigger for the object to be a trigger for the hands to detect. So this allows all of the hands to interact with it, or at least for now, just to show that it's interacting, because we're going to have to add a script that actually allows you to pick it up and drop it and go through those actions. But this is just a base script for making it an interactable object. Alright, so next then is we're going to need to add a script, and I'm going to call this one action, just because we're just making an action, just adding and picking up and dropping. So we're going to do script, action, create and add. Alright, so then as you can see, that adds the script on there. Alright, so then we're opening up the action class, this empty class. We're gonna want to put in the valve.vr, which is all of the Valve's created stuff for their VR systems. So valve.vr, is that like that, sorry. And then beyond that, we're going to also put in the valve.vr. Oh my god, I cannot type. Valve.vr interaction systems. Yeah, so we're going to put in the valve.vr.interaction system, and that's going to allow for any interaction commands we're going to use and any of the predetermined classes and methods that they have in their classes. Alright, from there we are going to we're going to want to have access to this interactable script over here, so we're going to need to create an instance of it. So we're going to make that private, because that's just good practice. Interactable. I don't know what's going on with me capitalizing this N. Just can't get my hand out with the shift, I guess. Interactable, and then we're just going to call it interactable. Okay, perfect. And then from there, at the start, we have to declare it. So we have to create an instance of it, and create an instance of it, and then assign the one that's attached to this over here. So we're going to get the component. So we're going to go interactable. That's what we want, and then equals, or it's an assignment, but we're going to go just equal sign. Get component. And we're going to do interactable. There it is again with me doing the capital N, of course. So I'm terrible at typing. And then it's a method, so we're going to have to, it's a function, I mean, they're a method, same thing. So there's that, semicolon, because you need those at the end of every line. So then that's all we need for now. We don't need this update function because we're not going to be using it. We're not going to be constantly checking for things or constantly doing something, so we don't need that. Then I'm gonna go ahead and save that for now. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is, you see over here, this is the interactable hover events. This is a created class that Valve already has. That's for it's for interacting with objects, obviously, but it's for creating a hover effect so that your hand won't pass through an object. And it's also for creating those instances of interacting where you can pick up and interact with items. Where it attaches and detaches, but they're just base functions in this, and we're going to use these as our functions in this folder, so that when it calls for these in the interactable class, it's going to call it to our code, which is our actions folder. Our actions class. So what we're going to do is we're going to create methods with these names. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with the on-hand hover begin. So we're just going to go private void because we're not returning anything. On-hand over. Oops, not over. It's hover. And then we're going to create some parameters here. We're going to want hand, and this is going to get which hand it is, left or right. Alright, and so hand dot. So this is what we're doing right now is we're just going to put in the hints for grabbing stuff. So it'll tell the player what to push in order to grab something. This we can turn on and off at any time. Show grab hints. And these are pre-built functions. The show grab hint is already built into the interactive system. So there's that. Now we're going to do the other one. We're going to put on hand over end, hover end, private void on hand hover end. That's going to have the same parameters as well. It's going to have a hand. Like I said, it's going to be the left or the right hand. Okay. And then in that one, we're going to have the hide the hint, because once you take your hand away, you don't want the hint still popping up. So, and so hide grab hint. And obviously, if you don't want any hints for what you're doing, you don't have to have this. This is just a nice little debugging thing, so that you can see if your code's working or not. Obviously, there's better ways of doing debugging, but it's just a nice one to do because you can see it in game or in the actual game view when you're testing it. Alright, so the next one that we're going to do is we're going to create our own update function. It isn't over here, but what we're going to use is we're going to call it the hand hover update, because it's going to update whenever you're in that hovering stage, whenever you're close enough to an object to interact with it. So let's go ahead. We're going to call it private hand hover update. And I forgot the void, because obviously we don't want to return anything. And we're going to also take in a hand so we can keep track of which hand is interacting with it. Alright, to know, also another thing that Valve has put in this for us is grab types. So there's different types of grabbing. But what we're going to do is we're going to start by putting in a grab type variable. We're going to declare one. It's just going to be called grab type. Oops. I'll go ahead and that because it's good practice. And then this is going to be a a grab start, so it's called get grab starting, and that's like the actual grab type where you're starting to grab something. Like I said, that was nice that they have a lot of the stuff in here for us, so you might as well use it. Fix that, because just messing up. Alright, so that's great. Then we're going to make a Boolean function for if the grab is ending, because we want to know when someone's letting go of when the grab's complete. So, do grab ending, and that's going to be hand, because we're going to obviously keep track of the same hand we were using before. So, hand dot is, oops, everything's capitalized, is grab ending, and then we're going to want that to get the game object here that we're using. And I missed this. This is the capital, it should be lowercase. Okay, so next we're going to create the if statement. Well, one of the if statements. So it's going to be, this is to check if an object can be picked up, if the interactable object can be picked up by the hand. So I'm going to start off with, there you go, so if, and then interactable, this is the object, interactable, attach to hand. This is checking to see if it's not attached to the hand already. And then we're also going to add an AND statement to this to make sure the grab type is not none. Oops, not. This is just checking to make sure that it's not already grabbing something. And then what we're going to do then is we're going to attach the object to the hand. So we're doing the game object, the grab type, and we're attaching it with the grab type, because grab type is a variable that it actually takes. And then we're going to turn off the hover so that you don't get that hover animation anymore. And that takes an object, or an interactable, sorry, not an object. That takes an interactable. And then we're going to hide the hint to grab something, because you don't want to see the hint anymore if you're already grabbing onto something. So, boom, hide grab hint. Alright, and that's our first statement. That's just to pick something up. Obviously, if you're not doing the hints and you don't want to show the hints in game, then you don't have to bother with the grab hint. Alright, so now, in order to drop something, we're going to see when the grab is ending. So we're going to see when either for revive controllers, if you release or if you hit the grip again to drop, that's the ending. But if you're using Valve NX controllers, actually letting go of the controller is how you drop something. So how we're going to do that is we're going to create another if statement. This one's going to be an else if, because if it's not the first one, it's the second one, the second scenario. So else if, and if it is already if the grab is ending, okay, you're hitting the grab button again, or you're letting go of the controller. Then we're going to detach the object. So hand dot detach object. It's going to be game object. We're going to attach our object that we have currently. And then we're going to turn the lock off. We're going to unlock the hover so that we can hover over another object in order to grab it up. So we're going to do unlock hover again with this. And then we're going to unlock it from the interactable. Alright, and then that is the end of the simple action, the simple attach method, the simple action method for just trying to attach something to an object. But as you can see in game, I'll show you right here, that this isn't kind of functioning how an object would when you let go of it. Yes, it does drop, but it doesn't carry any momentum or any force that you give to it before it drops, so it just drops straight down with no force. And there's a very simple way to do it with valve, with the supply, which I'll show you real quick. It's as simple as adding a component to an object. So I'll show you that first, and then we'll go into how to get around that. Okay, and upon further looking at my code, I do realize I made a couple mistakes, and I did went ahead and fixed them. So this is the finalized action code that we made in order to interact with an object and pick it up. I think I called this unlock hover, and I put a comma over here instead of a period, and then I forgot the semicolon up over here. So this is the finalized code. This works, no issues. So here it is. I'll leave it right here for a couple seconds. Pause it if you need it. Alright, so now we are in Unity. We have our headset on and our controllers. These are like the basic gloves I was talking about. So now, as you see, let me get close enough to interact with the object. The hover engages, it shows the control, shows you how to pick it up. You just squeeze the controller for index, but if you squeeze the Vive one too, it works as well. It also highlights this sphere to show you that it is interactable and you can pick it up. You can turn that off, but that's basically what it is. But this controller, this is the hint that we coded into our code. Alright, so now we're gonna take a look at how to fix that, not on our end because it's going to take a lot of adding vectors and creating our own velocities and such, but we're going to go ahead and just use Valve's code that they give to us. So what they do is I'm going to duplicate our interactable here. I'm going to copy it, I'm going to duplicate it, and then I'm just going to separate them just a little bit so they're not touching, or not overlapping at least. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete our script that we wrote, because Valve already has a script that they use, or that they've written for us, that does this, and it is called throwable. So what this does is this is the action of picking up. It's our action method that we made, or our attach method, our attach class. And that is pretty much just picking up, dropping, all that, but it also carries the velocity and creates a throwable, as it says, to where it carries momentum going forward, whatever direction you throw it. It can be thrown with velocities like the actual velocity. It can carry the velocity that your hand's actually moving, which is fine, but it can also be a short estimation or an advanced estimation, so it's guessing at how fast your hand's moving based on our positions and kind of estimating it to create a more realistic effect. It's all personal preference for like what kind of feel you want in your game, but they are going to feel a little different when you're actually playing with the objects in game. Alright, so now I have both of the
interactable objects here. I have ours that we created with our actions, and I have ours over the other one over here that is with the valves throwable code. So over here, this is ours. Just want to remind you, it doesn't work when we throw it. Just drops straight down, but it does have interactability. You can move it. It shows the icons and such. So over here, there's valves. They don't have the show controls on, so that's okay. Lost that one. No big deal. Um, so you can pick this one up. Same thing, and toss it. It actually holds the momentum. Uh, Things like just tossing it and forth, and then it also rotates on the controller just like the other one does. But yeah, as you can see, it's pretty easy. I mean, you can swap hands as well. Um, but yeah, they work. Uh, Valve has most of it coded for you. You can just use the throwables, or you can just use a basic action. Just want to show you how to do it basics. But yeah, that is it. So I can throw that. That's gone. All right.